Hello everyone, I want to spend a little bit of time today talking about Ilhan Omar. Not my favorite topic, trust me, but I think there's some important things that came out from her affair, and I wanted to point them out in direct relation to what Islam is, because we have yet another opportunity here to understand Islam and see what it really is about. So this is what today's video is going to be dedicated to, and let me know what you think in the comment section. What I'm going to talk to you about today, so if you haven't heard, Ilhan Omar, a Congresswoman, part of the squad with AOC and the two others, she was elected to Congress, so she's Congresswoman, and she was very proud to be the first Somali refugee, hijab-wearing Muslim female to be elected to Congress. So she's very proud of all these elements, which I'd want to know what qualifications you have, but whatever. Okay. So she was, it was alleged that she had an affair with a man. So it's a very credible source. So that the man's soon-to-be ex-wife has filed court documents containing this information, and I believe it is very credible. So it's not like just an allegation. I think it actually is, because on top of that, the guy Timonet, actually, I believe it's Timonet, he actually has told his wife that he's in love with Ilhan Omar. So there's a couple layers here of credibility that add to the value of the story, in a lot of people believing that the affair was a reality and not just allegations. But for the sake of this video, so I don't get sued, I'm just going to say allegedly. So this alleged affair that happened, what can it teach us about Islam? And this is where it's very important for everybody to pay attention, because if Islam takes over your country, or my country, I'm in Canada, if they take over my beautiful Canada, this is the kind of legal system we're going to deal with. So under Islamic law, if you are married and you have an affair, Muslims are obligated to kill you, and the punishment for it is 100 lashes and stoning to death. You might not believe me. You're like, well, where did you get this information? So I'm going to read some proof to you. It is not in the Quran, so the stoning verse did not make its way into the Quran. It's like the breastfeeding verse. So let me deviate from the topic a brief second to talk about the breastfeeding verse, because it is so atrocious. Your ears will cringe. Like you'll be like, you'll want to run away. You probably will skip this part anyways. But the breastfeeding verse is a verse that is not in the Quran, but it was supposed to be in it. And what it stated is, if you are to be alone with a man to which you are not related by blood, like a father, a brother, or a nephew, but you have to be alone with him and he's not your husband for X, Y, Z reason, whatever the reason, the breastfeeding verse said that on 10 different occasions you had to breastfeed that man in order to be able to be alone with him and not have sexual intercourse. So yeah, that breastfeeding verse is not in the Quran, because Aisha, who was Muhammad's favorite wife, but also known as the wife who was 9 years old when he consummated where he banged her. She was 6 years old when he married her, and then she was 9 years old when he banged her. And see, I'm trying to be all fancy with my words, but really that's essentially what happened. So it's very, very it's very unfortunate. That's another component of Islamic law you might want to know about. But while she was preparing Muhammad after he had passed away, she was tending to his affairs, and she says that a sheep came into her house and ate the breastfeeding verse. So that's why it's not in the Quran. Stoning verse, similar story. It was decided after. It wasn't a sheep this time, but it was decided after by Muslims who took over after Muhammad died, that they would not put the stoning verse in there. However, the stoning to death for adultery verse lives on in different Islamic texts, and these Islamic texts is what has made the Islamic jurisprudence. And there seems to be widespread agreement across Islamic scholars of the world that this is a correct way to handle adultery. So I'm going to read it to you. So we'll get that out of the way. It's a hadith, and it's from Sahih Muslim. And if you want to read it for yourself, it is 17 and it's 4191. So it says, Ubadah bin as-Samit reported Allah's messenger as saying, "Receive teachings from me, receive teachings from me. Allah has ordained a way for those women. When an unmarried male commits adultery with an unmarried female, they should receive 100 lashes and banishment for 1 year. And in case of married male committed adultery with a married female, they shall receive 100 lashes and be stoned to death." There are multiple other hadiths that address this stoning to death in case of adultery. So it's not just like it showed up one time, it showed up a few times. And this is why in current Muslim countries, stoning to death for adultery is currently practiced. So, especially in Somalia, the homeland of Ilhan Omar. So anyways, this is big problems for Ilhan Omar. Now, I don't like this. I don't like that her life is in danger. I don't think she should be put to death for her affair. I don't agree with it, but I don't agree with the affair, I should say, and I don't agree with the death penalty. But you know what? People have affairs, and I don't think it's right to put them to death. So I promote the law that we have in Canada and the law that we have in America, where it's like, it's none of anybody's business. There should be no law around affairs because that's between two people. So you want to betray your spouse, then you're kind of a jerk, right? But this is what happens. But there's no death penalty for that. So this is the law that I want to defend. And I think that in this case, Ilhan Omar, she knows she is under death sentence. And why I feel very sad for her is her political career is already dead. It was dying when she was out there tweeting things like, the anti-Israel and anti-Jewish statements. And then she said, like, oh, let's defund the Homeland Security to make it easier for Islamic, invasions in the future. And she wants to give the border security at the southern border of the United States to the biggest voting bloc in the UN. So if she wants the UN to take over control of that. But the problem is, in the UN, the biggest voting bloc is the Islamic cooperation. So there's 57 Islamic countries who are part of that, and they all vote unanimously on these kinds of things. So they would vote to have Muslims come to America over all other immigrants. So you can see very quickly how the plan to turn America into an Islamic state is very, very much pushed by these agendas. And Ilhan Omar is a front woman for those groups. She's just a front woman. They're putting up with her. So, you think about things she's done. She gets away with a lot, but one of the things that is the most surprising she gets away with, and this is something we would never think about in America or in Canada, is that she's getting away with being a woman in power. Under Islam, women cannot be in power because women are considered inferior to men. I've made videos on how women are inferior to men according to the Quran, so I don't want to rehash that stuff. You can watch my other videos on this stuff, but she is considered inferior to male. But in America, she's in power, and this is because Islamic groups who are manipulating this, like she's the front woman, so the people in the back who are kind of like the puppet masters, if you want, they are the ones that are tolerating this because it fits well within the direction America is kind of going. So America, like the Muslim world is looking at us and all of our, we have to have more women in power, so it's not based anymore on what your qualifications are, it's based on if you're a woman. So Ilhan Omar fit well in that whole logical way that America seems to be doing things these days. So she's a woman in power, yay! Oh, she's the first woman, Muslim women in power, yay! That kind of thing. That's the kind of narrative that is very, very popular these days. So the Muslim world is looking at us going, yeah, put a woman in power. They're gonna love that. They won't even see us coming. The woman's gonna be in power, and then they're gonna think they're so progressive. They're gonna applaud themselves, which is essentially what we did. So because she gets away with not wearing her hijab properly a lot of the times, she gets away with being in power in general and having a voice, which is not anything the Islamic world would ever tolerate in an Islamic Muslim majority country. But she's a front person. But now, with this affair, she has essentially managed to really aggravate a lot of Muslims. And one of those Muslims, or maybe a few of them, are going to be the ones that are going to kill her. It's not going to be us. It's not going to be Americans. It's not going to be Democratic voters. It's going to be one of the Somali Muslims from her own state of Minnesota that will plot to kill her, because that Muslim will be devout and will believe in Sharia. So I think she's in danger. I think her best shot, and honestly, this is what I would do if I was her. This is the right opportunity for her to leave Islam. She is already under death sentence for her affair. What's the difference between being death sentence for your affair or death sentence for leaving Islam? Because under Islam, if you leave Islam, it's a death penalty as well. So you're already kind of on it. It's the same outcome anyways. You're already there, Ilan. Just say now you're going to leave Islam, because your Somali constituents who voted you in will not vote you in again. They will no longer support you. They can't do that while saving Islam's face. You can't allow a woman to get away with breaking Sharia and get away with it under Islam. So one of the devout Muslims constituents from her state of Minnesota will carry out some kind of an assassination plot on her in the future when she's no longer Congresswoman and she no longer has the protection, the secret police she has around her, whoever is around her assuring her protection right now. They're going to kill her. And I feel very, very sad for her. I think the best outcome, just say, I am no longer a Muslim. I've decided to leave Islam after careful consideration. I recognize that the United States has saved me when they accepted me as a refugee and has treated me gracefully over the years and has allowed me to become a congresswoman. And therefore, I will spend the rest of my life dedicating myself to preserving and endorsing American values in lawmaking. And I will no longer be saying anything against the Jewish people. I will no longer try to defund Homeland Security. I will no longer try to put restrictions on what the UN, on what the US can do about their border and put that in the hands of the UN. I will no longer wear my hijab because I am now truly a free woman. And she could be an inspiration to Muslims in America who are looking to leave Islam. I think, honestly, this is the best outcome that she could hope for. And then she at least has the chance of getting the support back from the American people, who will then in return protect her from the Somali Muslims who will try to assassinate her. I don't see what else she could do. I don't see an outcome. She can't go anywhere. She can't go to any Muslim country anymore. I don't know what her options are. But if I was her, I would leave Islam, and I would do it so publicly, and I would ask to be re-sworn into Congress on the Bible, or even just on a generic law book, American law book, but not the Quran. And that would be her redemption. That's her. I honestly hope she does that. I hope she does that. We'll see. Anyways, let me know what you think. Yeah, this is like the worst ending to the video. My brain just stopped right there and I didn't know what to say. Okay, so, oh my God, I don't even know how to end this video. This is spiraling out of control. I'll see you guys in the next one.